A few months for the Democratic Party, the stinging election loss to Donald Trump in November, combined with losing their Senate majority and failing to retake the House, has Democrats devoid of leadership and looking for answers. But today, they say they're feeling buoyed after a convincing win in a hotly contested state Supreme Court contest and overperforming in 2 U.S. House races. Joining me to discuss this and more, Julia Manchester, national political reporter here at The Hill. Julia, let's talk about Florida first, our home state. Republicans held those 2 House seats. Both candidates won by double digits, but the margins were lower than Republican wins in November. Is this a good sign for Democrats across the country that may be eyeing purple states and districts?
Potentially. I think Florida is a different beast, Drew, because we know that Republicans already have such an incredible voter registration advantage in that state, 1.2 million or around that number to be exact. So they already had that going for them going into this. Additionally, this is a special election. So we're coming off of a very grueling presidential election cycle. We're in April, we're in an off year. So the turnout wasn't the same. That being said, though, I do think there are positive signs for Democrats in Florida when it came to them targeting what we call high propensity voters. And these voters tend to be from a more higher socioeconomic bracket. They tend to be highly educated. And we saw them come out in some of these districts, particularly in the 1st congressional district. You know, it was interesting. So much of the coverage was on the 6th congressional district. But I think some of the shocking numbers of the night, the most shocking numbers, came out of the 1st congressional district. So in Escambia County, for example, which is where Pensacola is located, we saw that county flip. This is a county that President Trump won by double digits. The Democrat Gay Valamont won it by roughly 3 points last night. And that's because Democrats were really able to drive out those higher propensity voters. On the flip side of that, you had Republicans who were struggling to turn out their lower propensity voters, voters who really come out in droves when President Trump is at the top of the ticket. So what Republicans argue is that this is ultimately a special election. It's not top of voters' minds, and their voters, their base just don't typically turn out for these special elections. So going forward, I think Democrats can certainly take a silver lining out of these official losses in Florida. But at the same time, we have to be careful about how we compare this to the actual midterm elections.
What do you think the impact will be in the House of Representatives? Republicans have those tight margins. Will this provide a little bit of breathing room for Speaker Johnson?
Yeah, it definitely gives some breathing room, some cushioning. We know that Speaker Johnson is under a lot of pressure to pass that budget reconciliation bill that combines the Trump tax cuts as well as energy, as well as border security. And we know that within the Republican conference in the House, there's still some questions as to, who's going to support what. We know that, for example, Congressman Thomas Massie has been a naysayer within that conference. So Johnson needs as much breathing room as possible in order to get this agenda through. And we saw President Trump and, other members of, Florida Republicans, including Congressman Byron Donalds, who's also running for governor in Florida. They were very much pushing that narrative, saying that the House majority depends on, in a way, these 2 seats and Republican voters coming out to vote.
Let's talk about Wisconsin. A liberal won the state Supreme Court race there despite Elon Musk funneling $15 million to her opponent. Musk put on a cheesehead, gave away $1 million checks, lost by 10 points. The liberal candidate Susan Crawford spoke Tuesday night. Let's take a listen to her.
As a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world. And we won.
Going forward, I wonder if the message from Republicans to Elon Musk is going to be, we'll take your money, but please don't come to my district.
Yeah, he certainly put his name and his face on this race. I think more people following this race noticed him more than the Republican Brad Schimmel running in this race. I think his involvement in some ways backfired on Republicans. We saw Democrats really in the last few weeks of this race seek to tie Elon Musk to Brad Schimmel, to President Trump, and the campaign worked. And in many ways, Elon Musk was feeding right into it. Like you said, traveling to Wisconsin, putting on a cheese hat, doing network TV interviews about this state Supreme Court race, saying that the state Supreme Court race, depended, or Western civilization depended on this race. So he really, I think in many ways, did Democrats a favor. I think this race, more so than Florida, offers more promising signs for Democrats. I think it shows that Elon Musk is certainly a foil that they can use. I think you're going to see them use this in subsequent elections in Virginia and New Jersey later this year if Elon Musk gets involved. And I think that's a big if. I think what a lot of us are questioning as to how much Republicans want him in these races after this really big loss for Republicans in Wisconsin.
And President Trump more and more talking about Elon Musk possibly going back to more work with his companies. We'll leave it at that. Julia Manchester, thanks so much.
Thank you.